We have some big things in uranium to cover today with the overall market, what is going on in the world, why uranium stocks dropped so hard and then recovered end of day. But as we went into Australian Open just right now, we are seeing very red markets in Australia for uranium. Now, I do want to show you something. A lot of people are worried about rate hikes. Now, these are the people that are invested in stocks with PE ratios over 100 usually. They're going to be worried because when rate hikes happen, those type of stocks are not going to probably do very well. But if you look here, this is a chart I put together. So this is the Fed. This is when the Fed actually raised interest rates back. This was 2004. Now this is going to be Denison Mines and Cameco, uranium companies, and they're actually a lot cheaper back then than they were today. Cameco was, but Denison was very close to what it is actually today. If not, it was actually might have been a little bit higher. This is actually shown for USD. Now, you can see that as the rate hikes happened, the overall market started to correct, okay? But we saw a big recovery very quickly. And uranium stocks throughout this time of all of these rate hikes, okay? You can see the rate hikes. This is, 2005, 2006. You can see how much they've gained. So Denison, $1 something, and then look. This is $7, $8, $9, $10, $11, $12, $15 at its peak. Obviously, when uranium prices went higher, we saw this. Same thing with Cameco. We saw a massive run, $55+. And back here, we're under, $9, single digits. So uranium stocks, when the price of uranium goes up, they will unyoke themselves, I believe, from the market. And this is very big because a lot of people are probably going to sell out of a lot of their overvalued PE ratioed stocks, and they're going to want to get into commodities, and they're going to probably see that uranium is going to get a lot of publicity because not only with what's going on in the world, because uranium is obviously used for, our energy, our baseload power, we need it. And it's the big topic. And the same thing with what's going on, the supply disruptions, the inflation. So this is very, something very positive that I think that this could be the next couple year future with rate hikes. Even if the overall market corrects some, you can see here uranium stocks usually corrected pretty well as long as the uranium price is going up. Now we're probably somewhere in here with where we are in the actual uranium market. So when the uranium price starts to go up, I believe we're going to see a big run. Now you can see here a lot of these stocks overall in the market. If I have some, see Tesla, Netflix, Apple, they're still down. A lot of these after hours as well. The overall market had one of the biggest drops and recoveries since 2001. Now this is big, has everyone on alert. A lot of people were selling off on Friday. There was a lot of puts, I think record puts as well. And we saw uranium stocks drop hard in the open, but they recovered end of day. Now you can see the Australian stocks that just opened not too long ago. They are in the red, pretty much like the overall US market was. Now, there's a lot of things going on, and this is a better chart here. You can see these are all the uranium stocks here. This is where they closed today, percentage, most of them. And then you can see down here, these are a lot of the ones that close negative or they're in Australia. And, they are still down, okay? Now, but if you want to look at this, before we jump into everything, I do want to show you that the 1 year, a lot of the uranium stocks are up at least 40 to even somewhere as 400 or 500% on some of these smaller cap ones, which is very big because the overall market, these are how much they're down here off the 52-week high. But if you look at some of the bigger stocks in the overall market, cryptos, they are well over this, sometimes double some of these that they are down from their highs. So right now I am still 50% cash. As I said back in October 1st in my videos that I was going to be heavy cash, and I've been calling this market correction for a while. Now I can't time this, nobody can. You saw today, like if you were trying to swing the market today, it was very hard. Although we saw a big run in uranium back in the uranium bull market, it will have massive up and down days and weeks as well. And I put this chart and I posted this August of 2020. So, I'm not a bandwagon jumper when it comes to uranium. I've been talking about it since it was the bottom, since people made fun of me, making 100+ videos on it. And now people still want to talk crap on days like today. It's like, come on, I've been calling this since March, the very bottom. Haven't led anyone astray. I've been covering it. So you see here, I told people that you can see that there were days where we had, massive up runs in the market, and yet uranium still had these, sometimes 50% trace backs on the stock price, even though the uranium price might have been going up during this time, but it also was fluctuating. But you can see that there were times where there was little volume. I mean, this right here is the 5 million mark volume. We're seeing, record volumes today, averages in the last 2 years for uranium stocks. Overall, when the volume actually starts to come in and the uranium price starts to go up, the price, we could see, very big runs in uranium, but it does not mean that they're not going to correct. So I put that out there. I just want people to know that that's where we're in when we're at record market peaks. Until uranium unyokes itself, this is the uranium open. This is what they did. Boom, right at the open. I took a snapshot of this and you can see that. This is what the overall market looked like at the open. You can see Tesla down 7%. I mean, these are $1 trillion market cap stocks, some of these up here. Look at this. And yet they're down multiple. I mean, this is a lot of money just, getting dumped on in the market. This is what the market closed at here overall. So you can see there's still a lot of sectors that were still down. And honestly, I'm still 100% bullish on uranium, but having about 50% cash, I haven't bought anything today because I really, honestly, I don't really know where the market's going. I don't think anyone does. I do know that if we're looking at history, and that's really all we can do, days like today were once common during the dot-com crash. This was on Bloomberg. The main reason was we saw almost a 5% intraday loss, but we closed up almost a 0.5%. So the last time we saw something like this, I think it was actually January of 2001. So this is very alarming. You see these dates. I don't like to see these dates, okay? These dates, 2008, 2000s, corresponding with what's going on today in the record. That tells me that we could be in this, quote, bubble territory for the overall market. Does not mean that I think that uranium stocks cannot decouple, unyoke from the overall market as uranium prices go up, as well as other commodities. Does not mean that, but it does mean that we're going to see those 30% sometimes drops in a week, maybe even 50% for uranium stocks. And the overall market, we saw some of the biggest stocks down so much. So this is something I'm just keeping my eye on, looking at history, looking at what the overall market is doing. So Biden this was just released. Biden did say that he met with European leaders. So it was, France and Germany. Now, Germany's not wanting to do anything with helping out Ukraine because they're already in an energy crisis. And Russia, has pretty much a monopoly on what's going on over there. And, with the prices rising, they could really do some damage. And we're seeing the U.S., the Pentagon, say that they have announced to put 8,500 troops on heightened alert. The U.S. has already, these are big things. The U.S. has already ordered families of the diplomats to leave Ukraine because there's a risk of conflict, okay? These are the things that you do in a checklist before things are actually going to start, especially if you are going to possibly start them, i.e. if the U.S. already is planning on sending these troops over there. We could see some big things happen because this is the number one thing, and this is why we're in an energy crisis, and this is why the market is, pretty worried, is European economies are at risk in a clash with Russia. So what does that mean? Well, we're seeing record prices. We'll jump over here to commodities. We're seeing record prices in Europe for gas, okay? We saw, a 15% or 18% run today. So if you look at this, we had a 3,000% run in less than 2 years with gas here. You see it right here, back from March of 2020, when everything was so low, we saw just a massive run, okay? Now it's dropped because, the world's trying to help out, sending ships over there and doing everything it can, artificially lowering the prices, but you can see it's not going to go anywhere. Inflation is rampant. It says that Monday afternoon, amid mounting concerns about Russian supplies, that it hit 92 euros per megawatt an hour. That was Monday afternoon. And Goldman Sachs analysts said natural gas imports to Europe could be stopped indefinitely if the Nord Stream 2 pipeline is hit by sanctions. Russia, where it ties into uranium, the United States does get 20% of its enriched uranium from Russia. Now, because uranium is such an opaque market, these are basically just trying to look at something with the telescope. It's very far away. We don't really know what's going on. We do know that 700 million pounds of contracting from US utilities is going to come back into the market in the next, 3 years plus, maybe 5 years. But we do know that these type of things, when supply looks to be disrupted in the energy sector, we could see utilities come back into contracting. Uranium prices need to be higher already, $75 plus for just the future of uranium to hit these production numbers, to be able to do this at a good cost. Are we going to see an Armageddon? That's what a lot of people think when I cover these things with Russia. Everyone's like, oh, it's fun, Armageddon, blah. That's what you're basically calling. There are some people that are pushing that, trying to say it's a positive thing. I am not saying that I think that this is going to happen, but it does look a lot similar to 1980s. And this is the Cold War. Remember, really nothing ever happened during this time. But everyone was heightened. The markets were crazy. We had record inflation. Obviously there was tensions with Russia because of the Cold War. Another thing, the Karate Kid, Cobra Kai, is now on the big screen. So Karate Kid was on back then. Dr. Disrespect. Oil was peaking. And the difference is now energy and commodities are in a way higher demand than they were back then. Just massively higher. You just look at the numbers. And, we've got obviously cryptocurrencies in a downward fall. They're going to need to be mining a lot of crypto just to get their these massive values back up. So they need energy. Same thing with, people want to switch to, electric. They're going to need to have a lot of power. And then overall, if you want to just look at the overall market, the overall world view of these ESG movements of all these biggest companies, they're going to need uranium. They're going to need nuclear. The price has to go up. You've seen it before. And, you've seen what the prices of commodities can do in, the previous bull run when we start to get that demand back. And we're going to get it. We're going to get the record demand coming back to uranium. It's 700 million pounds of contracting that will need to be coming. And it could start today. It's such an opaque market. We do not know. The one thing that we do know is that eventually uranium prices will have to go up, whether it's because of inflation. But uranium stocks are still going to be very volatile in the market. I do have my eyes on some stocks, and I will keep everyone updated. If you want to go check out my Discord, there's a link in the description below. This is where I keep everyone updated 24/7. I can't make videos live 24/7 on YouTube, but I do tell people when I'm buying, when I'm selling, and what stocks I'm looking at. I was telling people back October, and I put it out on their YouTube, that I was going 50% cash. I was cashing out gains. I was getting rid of some laggards, and I wanted to be cash because I knew a market correction was coming. I didn't know when it was coming, but I knew a market correction was coming. And we can see some uranium stocks are down 60% from that day. Some of those I've taken swing trades on, and I keep everyone updated on that too. I think this market, 30% intraday moves in the market today in some of these uranium stocks. So there's massive money to be made, not just on the long-term side, but also the short-term trading side. So if you guys want to check that out, go ahead and hit the link in the description below and let me know below. Did you buy any uranium stocks? What are you doing with your uranium stocks? Did you sell them? There's a lot of negative people out there currently in the overall markets and the sector, but I hope people can just realize that the price of uranium is going to eventually have to go up. And the best uranium stocks out there are the ones with management, with permits, that management that can really get the mines up and going. And those stocks, I think, will do a lot better. And I'll cover those in future videos.